Welcome, welcome. We are in February and we're transitioning into spring. And so that's what we're going to talk about, transitional clothes. And I thought there was a lot of good ideas. I did a lot of homework and found a lot of really, there's stuff we probably all know. It's just a little bit good to be reminded of it. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to remind you of it. And I'm also taken some pictures and done some shopping. I'm going to show you what's out there. So it's kind of fun. As we go along, feel free to ask questions or, if you don't understand something, make sure you understand it. We want to cater to those, especially when you're watching live. We really appreciate you watching live. Every month I was going to tell you that we had a new product of the month, and our new product this month is a dress form. And we've already sold quite a few, and that's exciting because they are really helpful visually. I don't think they're that helpful for draping. I mean, they are, but I think their biggest value is visual. When you put something on, you can back away and say, oh my goodness, that doesn't look near as good as it did really close up. So I use them a lot for draping and visually. Even if when I go to do real fit, I kind of drape on myself. But I think it's all helpful. But if you can go into that world, it's Valentine's Day this month, you could say, hey sweetie, you know what I want for Valentine's Day? I want a mini me, another me. All right, so we're going to start with probably the number one transitional piece. It has been for many, many years. It's extremely classic, and it is the trench coat. And so I was shopping, and I saw this one in particular. This is one I've had for many, many years. I made it many, many years ago. It's really worn the test of time. 1825 is the trench. I'm sorry, 1925 is Barbara's trench. I named it Barbara because I duplicated off of Burberry's trench. I didn't want to name it Burberry, but Barbara was kind of close, and I figured you'd get that. So I actually went and bought, I don't know if I should sell this publicly, but I went and bought a Burberry jacket. They're $800, the cheapest. And I did all the details. All the details. The only thing I changed was I put in a French dart. Because cup sizing is really helpful, especially the bulkier the garment gets, the more helpful it is to have a dart, because it makes you look thinner. Helps you shape the body, and it just makes you look thinner. But what I wanted to show you when I was shopping, there is in our little ritzy area shopping that we have here, it's called Highland Park, or Highland Park Shopping, whatever it's called, Highland Park Shopping Center. There is an Acris store, and so I went in there and I saw this beautiful trench coat. If you'll put up the first photo. This trench coat, and it's pretty in the picture, but oh my goodness, it is just beautiful. The leather. It's a pink trench coat. And if you look at that price, if you save up 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years worth of salary, it's a little under $7,000. It's always fun to think to myself, gosh, who spends $7,000 on a trench coat? If you spend $7,000 on a trench coat, would you email me? Just so I kind of start to understand who does spend $7,000 on a trench coat. I don't know anybody that does. I'd like to know somebody that does. Especially when you start giving away the trench coats that you no longer wear. That's when I want to know you best. But anyway, so this trench coat, I will say, was really stunningly beautiful. We have some beautiful pink fabrics, though, that would be very similar to a trench coat. You see, I wanted to show you this because you see what they did is they just put a zipper in for that short period of time. It's no different than it. It's still double-breasted, exactly like our pattern. And the cool thing is about having all these details is you can leave off whatever you don't want to. So what I do notice about trench coats is they're being done in so many different beautiful fabrics, just so many different beautiful fabrics, that it's really nice to be able to make one. They are very expensive. They're not all $7,000, clearly, but even the inexpensive ones are hundreds of dollars, and they're only a couple yards of fabric. After you make a fabric, you can take it to a dry cleaner's and you can have it waterproofed. So you just take it. You might have to call around. My dry cleaners does it, but just call around and say, hey, I need a dry cleaners that will waterproof. Will you give me one? And you just take it in and they'll do that for you. Okay? Yeah, I don't know that you really need them waterproof. They're really great transitional garments. They really do a great job of doing everything. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about then is the shirt, the blouse. I know I showed you this a couple weeks ago, and when I did it on a Let's Sew, I did it out of a t-shirt, and I had mentioned to you that I had done it out of this purple, but I had never shown it to you, so I wanted to show it to you. It's what I have on. The pattern is number 350, Stephanie's blouse. The fabric is $39.80. This purple, it's a shadow stripe. And so, I mean, I think it's beautiful. I think this is really good looking. Like, I love acrylic, you know that, and I love stripes. And yet, somehow this tone-on-tone that I have on, I just like even a little better. So the beauty with 350 and the placement, if you go back to the Let's Sew video that I did, I showed you all the placement of the stripes. Because it's a kimono sleeve, you don't have to, and that's also a kimono sleeve, you really don't have to change the stripes. They'll automatically change because they're vertical this way and they're horizontal this way because of the pattern itself. So very easy pattern to do, really fun pattern combination, but the goal that I wanted to show you is shirts and blouses are strong transitional garments, mainly because you can layer them. They can be worn underneath a trench. I'm going to show you this in a minute, but also they go, like for instance, this particular case, it's long sleeve, and then in most cases, if you'll make them just with a little cuff, or no cuff, this one doesn't even have a cuff, but you can really fold them up and really take them into spring because simply all you're doing is bringing that cuff up and rolling it. This particular fabric, you always want to watch the back side of your fabric to make sure that you like it when you're rolling it up. But we've also got those little clips that you can hold up a rolled up sleeve if you don't do a cuff. And I think both work really well. So $39.80, this is a rayon. I can't remember if it's a silk rayon or just a rayon. But anyway, in combination with $350. And that shirt there, that was available. I first saw it at one of the stores here locally, but I know it was at Neiman's. $700, I think it was. Again, a couple yards of fabric, a couple hours of sewing is all it took me, and I loved it. I put it on with a chain belt because chain belts are really strong for spring. So it was kind of just something I can wear now with jeans, with leggings. I can dress it up, I can dress it down. It's kind of just fun. I just love the blouse. It's comfortable. I just love the blouse. Okay. Do you take your fabric or the finished jacket to be waterproof? Do you want to take the finished jacket because all the stitching has been done? Don't try to waterproof the fabric because the stitching penetrates where they've waterproofed. So you want to actually make the jacket, completely finish it, and then take it in. Okay? All right. All right, so blouses. I can't say enough about blouses. There were several that I always have bigger vision than what I get made. I just don't ever get done everything I want to. And yet, in some ways it's good that we do it tonight because otherwise I just keep sewing like a maybe for the next few days. But I decided I could do some of the ideas on Let's Sew, so just kind of keep an eye there, what's going on there, because I'm just going to do some pattern fabric combinations, things that are fun for spring. And there's a blouse that I want to do. It's, I don't know the fabric number, but it's a pinstripe fabric. It's a black pinstripe with 418. So anytime you take a dark fabric and do a spring look or summer look, it's really a nice combination. Or in some of these cases where I've taken a kind of thicker fabric but done it in a lighter color, you get a real nice transition garment. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but let's go ahead and move on. So blouses. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is layering. Obviously we all know to layer. Some of us wonder, well, how do I layer and how does that work? Obviously, it's how cold you are and your personality and where you live, how many layers you need. But usually 3 layers is really a good number. As far as for skiing, I ski and I'm always freezing. And I had a ski teacher tell me one time, 3 layers is the magic number. The one you want next to you is the one that you want to be the natural fiber. The silk, the cotton, whatever it is that's helpful for you, all of those silk undergarments are really helpful because they're literally next to your body and they're a natural fiber. So they breathe, which means you don't sweat. You don't want to sweat on that bottom layer or else it's just miserable. So a natural layer, you could get a silk knit and make yourself little, leggings and little t-shirts out of $195, which would be really easy to do. And then you want to have another layer on top of that. It can be close or loose. Blouses work really well for that. We'll talk a little bit later about some different kinds of blouses. And then you do your coat or your jacket. If you go the 4th layer, it should be obviously an outer coat, which is where your trench coat helps. And in all of these patterns, as I've drafted them, we notice that the armholes will change in size. So when our knit armhole is smaller than our blouse armhole, is smaller than a jacket armhole, is smaller than a trench armhole. So purposely done that way so that you can layer them and they still fit. I'm not a person who likes sleeve and sleeve. That just drives me crazy. Except when it's winter, okay? And then I have no problem with a knit sleeve inside a woven blouse inside of a jacket, which is 3 sleeves, but that doesn't bother me a bit for some reason. Especially when the fabrics are the right fabrics in order. For instance, when I said use a natural fabric next to your body, that blouse fabric, even though this is a silk, and I will say I'm a real snob when it comes to blouses. I love the silk and the rayon, and poly will work well. Poly won't make you sweat because it's not next to your body. There's already something next to your body breathing. The poly will just hold in the warmth, which is why so many of your jackets, outside jackets, are poly, and they're very effective. They don't need to be a natural fiber because they're not internal. Okay? Okay, could you turn around to show the back of the purple blouse? Sure. Okay. Okay. So let's look at the layers. I want to keep talking about layers for a little bit. Great ways to layers are vests. Vests are another thing to layer. So under my trench coat, I actually have a vest. It's really not going to be a vest, but because I didn't finish it, I figured I could pull it off as a vest. It's going to have sleeves. The sleeves are sitting over here on my sewing machine, so I haven't finished them yet. But this is the new jacket. This is 921, Valentino's Unlined jacket. This fabric number is 4085. It's a Rebecca Taylor. It's a black and pink. It was a striped, and it really lent itself to me. I just loved it. I just loved the look, and I thought it was a great transition piece, again, because the pink is really a nod to spring. The black is classic all year long. And then, of course, it's like a little jacket or like a little jean jacket. And that's what works really well. Transitionally, jean jackets work really well. I love the little play on stripes. So on the side panel here, the front and back, I put the stripes. And I just put it at the same place at the bottom so you can see on the side the stripes would line up. That was just something that was fun, not necessary. But you can definitely see the parts and the pieces here. This is a little tab that's on that jacket. It really doesn't show up that much. I did do a welt, a pocket and a welt, just because, I don't know, I love welts. I love welt pockets. I don't know what it is about them, but I just really like them. But it will be a jacket. But even if it's a jacket, because it is a jacket that has no shoulder pad, it wears well under a trench coat. Okay, so just again in kind of orders of sleeves, we want to make sure that we are not trying to fight sleeves and armholes, because for me, what makes me hot and uncomfortable is when I can't move. And if your sleeves and armholes are kind of in order, then that mobility becomes much easier and much more enjoyable. You're warm, but you're not uncomfortable. Every time I think of it, I think of The Christmas Story. I think it's the name of the movie, The Christmas Story. It's one of my son's favorite movies. The little boy, and we even have the game where they ask you questions, and I never do well in the game because I don't remember the details of the movie that much. But anyway, the little boy gets in his outfit, and he, what's the little boy's name? Do you Ralph? Is it Ralphie? My kids are all laughing back here. But, you know, he falls, and he can't get up because he's just this big snow puff. He's warm, he just can't move. So we don't want that. We don't want to be Ralphie. We really want to be functional as well as warm. At least I do. I don't ever want to be a Ralphie stuck on the sidewalk. Okay, and then what I'm going to do under these layers is I'm going to go down underneath. And I've got a little silk cowl. So I'm going to take this off and go down to that little silk cowl. And that silk cowl is pattern number 320, which is this one right here. It's called Bailey's Cowl Tank and Wrap. And the fabric number is 4014. Now see, this is where I think we just have huge advantages of sewing, because I'm going to make this little tank and this little cowl, and I made it to go with the little jacket, and it's great coordination, pinks and blacks and soft and linear, and I just love all the combinations together. But then I'm going to come in and I'm going to make the wrap for this so that, you know, like currently I would wear the top, and I would wear that now because it's, well, everybody's weather is different across the country. But here, you know, we could wear a jacket like this now without a trench or without an outer coat. But here in another month, I'm not going to want to wear that. I'm going to want to soften it up to where I can wear it just with a little wrap on top. And so one of the big trends for spring is this monochromatic dressing. So I went ahead and made it the same fabric so that I could wear this separate, and when it came in to be full spring, I went ahead and spent an hour and made this matching little wrap that went with it, so it really lent itself to give me more life, and that was the goal. Every time I make something, especially when I'm making like a little collection, I'm always looking at what can go with what, and I want to keep doing that so that you guys just, your takeaway is simply, how can we mix these to where I get more life out of every single piece, and when we go shopping, we can like individual pieces, yet we don't get the life out of them that we may want to or that we can. When we're sewing, we have all these fun options. So the coat armhole is an armhole larger than the jacket armhole and not included in the armhole templates. That's right, and mostly they're not included because we don't really need them to be included. As long as they're larger, most people don't put on a coat and say, gee, I just don't like the armhole, because they're just not that persnickety. So they are larger because they are the jacket armhole without a shoulder pad. So it automatically makes them feel larger because they are really the same size, but without that shoulder pad, they drop off to feel like a larger armhole. Okay? What do you suggest for layering with a knit sweater over a t-shirt or blouse? Should I go up a size in sleeve to give more room? You know, that is your call, but I would definitely say yes. I mean, if I'm layering, like, we're going to get into cardigans here in a little bit, I'm definitely going to go up a size, because for me, personally, there's nothing worse than a tight cardigan. I just can't stand a tight cardigan. Cardigans aren't supposed to be tight. They're supposed to have great shape, but remember, they're over. Cardigans are going to take, what cardigans do is when we're going into, and we're kind of jumping the boat here a little bit, but, you know, when we take away that coat and we take away that jacket and we're kind of getting into spring more, that cardigan is our best friend. It goes over the base, it goes over a blouse or a knit top, either one. That cardigan kind of becomes our trench coat, per se. So it's a great way to sub it in, and so I would not go tight on that cardigan. Is there a pattern for the wrap, or did you just drape it? Yes, no, there is a pattern. It's 320. It's the cowl tank and the wrap. They're both in here together. So this little wrap, I didn't just make it because it's a little more complex than it looks. Not complex by any means, but it's got these beautiful butterfly sleeves. And I tried, when I first saw this and I purchased it, Bailey 44, I tried to do it and just like, it was too complex to do it in a let's sew. The pieces are just too complex. How they sew together, it's not complex, it's not like do this, do this, do this. So it is a beautiful little, you can see like a little butterfly sleeve. There's a little side piece inside there, and then it just all drapes to the front. And this is obviously the same fabric, 4014, and done beautifully to match the little cowl. Okay, and I'll turn it around. You can see it's just got a really pretty drape in the back. It's beautiful. And this is a sheer, this 4014, so it's really beautiful with a sheer, because when I take sheer and put it on top of sheer, it's no longer sheer anymore. So because I've got the sheer overlay, this would be great on a dress, would be the next thing I would do. I would make it like a solid black dress, and then you could wear this with a dress, or a solid blue, or a solid pink, whatever color you want to pick. You know, again, that just furthers your wardrobe that much more. You want to make these pieces really interchangeable. And all these fabrics, when I go to put up fabrics, I'm almost always going to put up fabrics that will coordinate with one another so that you can get them and get several together and figure out how you're going to work them the best. Okay? What pattern is the wrap? The wrap is 320. This is 320, Bailey's cowl tank and wrap. They're both. This is a little, you know, just a little cowl, little tank like that. It's got a cowl tank. Oops, sorry, the sleeve came off. Sorry about that. It's got a little cowl in the front. And this is great for summer, and yet I can wear it all year round because I can put it like I did underneath a jacket. And then when the summertime comes and spring or whatever, and I kind of want to cool off a little bit more, I can take care of that. Okay, 320. Can the wrap be either knit or woven? It can be, yes, it can be. You have to do a little bit of adjustment on the pattern pieces, just that the sleeve, this is like a little butterfly sleeve, and it is kind of stretched to go all the way around. And so with a woven, it won't go all the way around. What I did is I just left it short, the same amount front and back. It doesn't have to go all the way to the bottom, so it's not a big deal. Would Bailey's top work out of a light wool boucle for winter? Absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons I love about a lot of these patterns, you guys, is the fabrics are so interchangeable. So, for instance, like we have a cardigan wrapping, you know, 196, and it's like a home run. We love it. It's probably one of our best sellers. So when I look at the line and I think, okay, what else do we need? To me, we need a wrap that can be woven or knit. And that's where this really comes into play, because the fabrics are unlimited. You know, you can do anything you want, and it's really a lot of fun. Whenever it's supposed to be a knit, which is what it is, I would make it up and suggest you make it up in a knit first. Get to know it. Get to understand how it goes together. Like, don't try to change two things at one time. But once you get it, and it's easy, and you put it together, then go ahead and say, okay, now I'm going to change it up, and I'm going to do it in a woven. I understand it. I know where we're going, and I'm going to change it up just a little bit. Okay, that would just be my suggestion. Do it in a knit first, and then change it up. But all these sheers that are coming out for spring that we've got, oh my goodness, would be so pretty done together. And even a tank top, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. What seam finish do you use for the sheers? This one particular, many times I've made this. I've made this numerous times. And I do a rolled edge. I didn't when I was making this. I just went ahead and serged it and folded it over and top stitched. And it's simply your call, depending on your fabric. With this, you know, it wasn't going to show anyway, so it didn't make a difference. You could simply do twice, whatever you feel. I'll say a lot, whatever your sewing machines can handle. You know, if you don't have a really good rolled edge on a serger, don't try that. Do a rolled edge on a sewing machine. You can just do 2 layers. But just go to your sewing machine, see what they can do, and then choose based on your sewing machine. I cannot find Valentino's jacket on Silhouette Patterns website. How can you purchase the pattern? Someone in chat helped them. Okay. Oh, simply because if you go to the new patterns, I don't think you can buy it right now. I think that because it's in pre-order, so the spring patterns have been sold in a pre-order, and then we did a pre-order for no shipping on those. But I think that's over. I think they took that down. I couldn't swear on that because the office people aren't here tonight. But if you go to the very front page and it says Spring Patterns, click on that. 921 is one of those new springs. That's probably why you can't find it on the site. It's not in the sequenced order just yet. Not because we don't have it. Okay? All right. Love the cowl front. What else can I do to sub for the back? Anything. Why do you even want to sub for the back? Tell me why you want to sub. Because the back's not going to show anyway. It doesn't matter. Just, you know, wear something, unless you're trying to wear it, maybe you're trying to wear it by itself. But the back's not low, you guys. I mean, remember, I'm an old woman. I make this stuff modest. I don't make it immodest. This is above your bra strap. You know, it's just a little bit of your back showing. Is that too much showing? You can always wear this with it. Tell me why you want to do what you want to do, and then I can help you get there probably a little bit better. Okay, so layering then, we find that layering is really good. Now, if we go back on layering, the other thing I want to talk about is this little cardigan over here. Remember that last Thursday, I think it was? Last Thursday I did a turtleneck. Turtlenecks are like a home run for layering. Especially, now in this turtleneck I did it, I did a long sleeve. But a short sleeve turtleneck is a great look for spring. It's really common, it's really popular because it's a natural fiber, it keeps the body warm, and then you can layer cardigans, coats, you know, whatever you need to over it. But you can choose how high you want it, you can choose what you want to do with it. I just love this turtleneck. I love it, absolutely love it. And I haven't made a turtleneck for myself, or even worn a turtleneck for myself for a long time. So the turtleneck is a big portion of, and I didn't say this the other night, but you know what's great about turtlenecks right now is you can pull them up and wear them as a mask. Like if you notice, everybody's wearing turtlenecks or these turtle things that go around their necks. These, I can't remember what they're called, but the guys, a lot of them are wearing those, and then they just pull it up for the mask so they don't have to worry about carrying their mask around with them everywhere. Okay, so let's look and see what's next here. All right, so this is what I wanted to see layering. I just wanted to see the base layer, something over it, and then you can go from there. And how many layers you have to have, and armhole size and all that, you can decide on. Okay, and then the next one. Okay, so this is just another example of the layers, but I wanted to show the cardigan because the cardigan is really a big part for spring. It's really big. From winter into spring, I don't think there's anything more valuable than that cardigan. It's just, I love it. I've worn it a lot. I wear it a lot, and I love making them. So I'm going to show you a couple that I did. I used 915 for this because why? We've made 915. We love 915. Got a little elastic casing in the back. And it's just simple and easy to do. I switched out the stripes, just it's not really a striped fabric, it's a linear. 4087 is the number to this fabric. It's got a linear pull to it, so I made that go up and down in the front, and then horizontal the rest of the way. Obviously you could do anything you wanted to. This fabric's 100% cotton. The buttons I used here are those 2-inch coconut buttons, just for show. Completely just for show, just for decorative. I just thought they were kind of fun to put something on there. So, cardigan, you guys know it has a French dart in here. It just fits beautifully. And it's not, I don't know, what, an hour and a half to sew. It's just really quick and easy. A couple yards later and you've got a great cardigan. All right, so that's 915. It's called Hugo's Favorite Cardigan, and that was Hugo Boss that we borrowed that style from. I'm trying to measure a stretchy knit, but when I measure 3 places and establish a line, the dots don't line up, and every time I measure it comes out different because of the stretch. Okay, so I'm not in your head, but why are you measuring the stretchy knit? What's the goal? What's the, just email it, chat back. You're trying to measure a stretchy knit. So why are you trying to measure it? Okay? Okay, so I wanted to talk then, the turtleneck was $195. I'm wondering why I have $195 here, because that was the turtleneck. I think this pattern, again, is the base. It's really the base layer of just about everything. Your underneath part, your ski wear, anything to keep you warm. This $195 can be the base layer. It's amazing. How would you recommend widening the straps on the cowl tank to cover bra straps so it can be worn alone? Just cut them wider. Just literally cut them wider. The strap, the little strap, I think it's like meant out to be fold, and so it ends up being a ½ an inch. So if you want it to be wider, just literally cut that piece wider. It's a separate piece right here. Whoops. Yeah, that piece right there could be as wide as you want it to be. Okay? It could be wide here, and it could be go narrow. You can kind of design what kind of what kind of straps you want. So that's where it's kind of fun to play. You kind of decide, hey, what do I want? Why do I want it? How am I going to do it? I think that makes sewing fun. If we always follow the pattern, I don't know, we don't want to do that, do we? No? Yes? I don't like my bra strap showing at all. What would you do to the back of the cowl to cover the bra straps? Okay, the base of the bra would not show down here. Just to cover those straps, you can just make them wider. Just make that strap wider. Okay? This part comes underneath your arm, so I wouldn't change this, nor do I think you need to. But you could just make this strap wider, and then you could make it wider. See, look, this part here covers the bra strap. It's far enough in that it covers it. So I don't think you'd have to change this, but just go wider when you come to the back where it sews in. I think that'll do it for you. But, again, what you could do is just make a sample, put it on, figure out how much, bras are all so different. Put it on, figure out how much of the bra you're wearing is showing, and then you can adjust the strap width. You'll see that in that pattern, it's just a little pattern tissue that's the strap width. You can cut that to be anything you want it to be. What's the pattern of the black and white abstract lines coat, please? I'm going to assume you mean this. The pattern is 915. That is Hugo's favorite cardigan. It's actually Peggy's favorite cardigan, but the name of the pattern is Hugo's favorite cardigan. All right. Okay. And then fabric 4085. 4085 is that right there. Got it. And the question was, sorry, will it shrink much? No. Now, can we just talk, let's just touch on washing just a wee little bit. We got all these cottons coming in. You know, cotton can get wet and cotton won't have a problem. What cotton doesn't like is a hot dryer. Cotton does not like a hot dryer. So don't turn your dryer on hot. Dryers ruin fabrics. They beat them up. They're very hard on fabrics. So I think that's where a lot of us go wrong is the fabric. I mean, the washers too. I have a front loader, so if you still have an agitator on your, washing machine, you want to be careful. Hand wash things because those agitators just beat the heck. And this particular fabric, I know you can't see it, but it is somewhat loosely woven. So if you're going to wash yardage, finish the edges first. Don't wash the yardage. Don't just throw it in there and not wash it. You need to finish the edges. Not the selvages, they're not going to go anywhere, but the cut edges. That's what you need to finish. And just put on a gentle cycle. And then either put on a low. Before I wash anything, I'm always going to do 2 squares. 2 squares, same size, throw it in the washer, compare it back, throw it in the dryer, compare it back. Always, 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 always. Okay? Okay. And again, I always say this again, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Back in the 80s, early 90s, I had a dress line. And I was told by many others who had big, big lines, I was a little teeny tiny dress line, okay, by big manufacturers. They said, and I'll never forget this, that the reason you put dry clean only inside of a garment has nothing to do with the fabric and everything to do with the end consumer. Because the end consumer will ruin that garment because they're just so irreverent to how they wash and dry. They think everything can just be thrown in the washer and everything can be thrown in a hot dryer, that they'll ruin the garment because of the way they're handling it, but then they'll bring it back to you. They'll say to you, it was your fault, I just washed it and dried it. So the dry clean only was put in there so that when it wasn't washed correctly, they didn't have to take the garment back. Isn't that pathetic? I mean, I think that's really sad because a lot of us will not buy things because it's dry clean only. It's really not dry clean only. It just needs to be taken care of. And so many people just don't wash carefully. They just they wash everything the same way. And we need to stop doing that with clothing. When I measure three places to establish a line, the dots don't line up. I'm fashioning a dress into a skirt, finding the waist based on the distance from the hem. Okay, let's go back. Is it all one? To establish a line, the dots. I don't know what dots you're talking about. I just, you know what, this is probably not on the topic we're talking about. So if you just want to email me privately, if it's not a silhouette pattern, don't ask me. If it's not a silhouette pattern fabric, don't ask me. You have to go to whoever you bought that from, okay? Hope that helps. Okay. Does the back neck of the cardigan ride up at the neck? Does it ride? No, it doesn't ride up at the neck, but it will go up. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys to remember something. Last Thursday, it was on the turtleneck when I was showing you how to make a turtleneck. And the photo that I showed you had a turtleneck, but it was a turtleneck that started lower. So wherever a collar starts is completely design. Okay, you got to understand that principle. It's design. This collar starts lower than a normal collar. So when it folds over, this does not fold all the way down to here. Can they see this? Do you want to zoom in on this, Brett? Do you mind? We can see what we're talking about. So it's the same with the turtleneck that I did a picture of last week. I showed you a turtleneck, and the turtleneck started way low. This design, this collar, starts low. So when you fold over the collar, I know in traditional things, we expect that that collar has to come all the way down here. It does not. It's just the design of this particular cardigan that it just let it fold over itself, but it's not meant to come all the way down here. That's like a little yoke that's built into the collar. So they're two separate functions. And a lot of us, just because we're not aware, we think, oh, well, it's got to fold all the way down there. It does not. It's not supposed to. Okay, so just let it naturally fold over itself, which it will, but it's not going to come down to this seam. Okay, I hope that helps. So it won't ride up if you just leave it alone. It's a knit back. Could you make the collar neck into a dress? Sure. Sure. I don't know what 2 squares means. 2 squares.
When you're washing fabric.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you guys. Okay, takes a village here. Okay, 2 squares. So you're going to cut 2 pieces, 2 squares. I say 4 by 4. 2 squares that are 4 by 4. Thank you for asking, you guys. Sometimes I'm thinking of the next thing and I don't finish the sentence, so thank you for asking. If I'm not sure on a fabric, I will cut 2 squares. They're both 4 by 4. You're going to wash one. And when you wash it, you are looking for color loss. Water will bring about color loss. Water typically will not shrink. Heat is what shrinks. So after I wash it, I take the square out, I compare it back to the original square, and I say, are there any changes? Yes or no? Most of the time it's going to be no, there's not any changes. So I take that same square and I throw it into the dryer. Then, same thing. I compare it back after the dryer. I've got to keep my original square because number one, I'm checking for size and I'm checking for color. And I tell you guys, it's a funny thing, but I've tried many times, oh, I'll remember. No, I don't remember. You want to cut 2 squares, cut them the same. I don't care what size. Generally 4 inches because